Hello, everyone, and welcome to Let's Take 5, the podcast where we pick a cinema legend and take 5 of their films to examine their excellence and range. My name is Austin Luker.
And my name is Ray Martindale.
Very fancy.
Absolutely.
And we are on our third week of our Werner Herzog 5. Last 2 weeks we've covered Aguirre, the Wrath of God, and Nosferatu the Vampyre. Today we're going to talk about Fitzcarraldo, and coming up we're going to talk about Grizzly Man and Encounters at the End of the World. But today, Fitzcarraldo. This is now our third film with Klaus Kinski. It's the final fiction film we're going to do of Herzog. And once again, we have a possibly madman in the jungle. With Aguirre, it was a set of conquistadors looking for El Dorado, and unfortunately El Dorado doesn't exist. But for Fitzcarraldo, it's a different story. It's about a man who has a very strong ambition to create an opera house in Peru. And to get the funding for it, he's getting into the rubber trade business. And to do that, he's taken a big old boat, and he sees a path that no one else has done before, where there are two rivers that are really close to each other that can make for access to trading. But unfortunately, the rivers don't actually touch. And in order to succeed, Fitzcarraldo, as he's nicknamed by the local people, he has to get a steamboat over a mountain.
Oh, yes. Okay, is that what the movie's about?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure that there were no pieces missing.
I mean,
I had a lot of trouble following this film.
This one is a bit trickier to follow.
Yes. Yeah, it was, there was a lot of, I don't want to say there's a lot of different plot threads. There just wasn't a lot of meat on the bone as far as characterization is concerned, as far as the actual plot is concerned, because you do spend an hour moving that boat, but also because it really is, this guy really loves opera.
Yes.
And that's pretty much the character.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's like there's not a lot of meat in the bone there. So he wants to build. Okay, going back to the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is about moving the boats.
Yeah.
So we can go back to the characterization. So why get the boat over the hill?
It's for the trading purposes.
No, I understand that, but they're not going to move a boat over the hill every single time a ship comes down.
It seemed like it was.
So is the point to build on that spot, but to prove that they can do it?
That is a lot what I got out of it.
Okay.
I think he did not recognize how difficult it was going to be, because at the very beginning, he looks at a map and goes like, "Oh, this is like nothing.
Yeah.
This is nothing on a map. We can do this." Mm-hmm. And then kind of once, especially after he's there for even just a little bit, he recognizes the magnitude of this project. It just becomes, we can't give up.
Right.
We have to do this.
And that's certainly part of it. And then he gets help from the natives and whatnot. He's able to, exist and live because they think they're gonna kill him at first. But I just didn't get. I just didn't get it. It just kind of got lost on me. I mean, it almost felt like the Herzog wanted to make a story about him moving a boat over the mountain.
That is the initial. He had a dream about a steamboat over a mountain, and then made an entire story from that moment.
Okay, so
he literally did.
Okay, well, that's exactly what the movie felt like.
Yeah.
I was reading a thing about Ebert when he talked about this film, because Ebert adores this film, and thought that it's literally like, it's one of those movies like a 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, he really thought it had that much scope and that much grandeur to it. And what I really just saw, I think the way he put it was one of the few times in movie history where what they were actually doing on the screen was just as interesting as how they actually made it.
Yes.
And that may be true about all of it, but at the end of the day, there is so much build-up to just getting the boat over the mountain, and that's what the movie is about. I mean, the opera house, you think it's going to be about this opera thing, but it's not really about that. That kind of goes away once he sets down the river in the boat. Mm-hmm. So I just never I just didn't get a real sense of plot.
Well, to me, I guess it's more about this general feeling that I had watching the film. And, I mean, it's very easy to compare this to Aguirre, and I kept biting my tongue during our Aguirre review because it was always a lot easier for me to ponder and examine Fitzcarraldo as a character because I was way more interested in his intentions. Whereas the conquistadors in Aguirre are doing this for a very greedy purpose. I mean, that's literally the purpose. They're looking for gold.
Yeah.
And to very, all the standards are ours now, as they talk to no one. Mm-hmm. Fitzcarraldo, to use opera as the MacGuffin for doing this thing, it is beauty in a way that Herzog captured very earnestly at the beginning. I mean, you have Fitzcarraldo, who's this very goofy character, so he's wearing this white suit, and he comes in on this small little boat, and he's like...
Oh, the beginning's brilliant.
He's
I loved it.
Begging to get into this opera house just so that he can hear this guy live. Like,
I think he just stabbed that guy in the chest to get in there.
Yeah. And it's to see this and to see not only the pursuance of art, but pursuance of beauty that anyone can enjoy. And that's like his intention is to bring that to a land that doesn't have it. It isn't for any sort of capitalistic reason. It's just for the sake of more people's lives will be greater if they can have the chance to hear this.
But that's not the whole movie.
Right,
that's one part of the movie, and then the rest of the movie is getting the boat over the mountain.
And then
they just don't seem connected to me enough to where I actually got still in Aguirre.
Sure.
And Aguirre, every piece, the constructed, the rafts they make, the characters, the characterizations, the characters that get killed off, the natives that they run into, the cannibal, all of it has, it's all part of the same story, the same plots, and the same plot threads going off of it. It's a tree with many branches. This is two completely separate trees. Mm-hmm. Divided by a mountain that you have to get a boat over. Yeah. But
so it works.
So, like in that sense, it's kind of be like Encounters, which we talk about later, where I said, part where I will bring up there, but there are parts that are. There's a lot of this movie that's very beautiful, but it lacks a linear flow-through that has me actually interested in what's going on. It's a movie you could literally watch in 4 or 5 parts, because I don't feel... There's nothing making me want to keep watching the film. And it's not just... Because, it's not just the film is boring. It is. Boring is not something that I've ever had a problem with. Mm-hmm. 2001, here I go again. Greatest movie ever made. I say that about everything. It's boring. I mean, it has parts that are boring, but that's fine, because it's laying groundwork, it's doing what it needs to do, it's getting you into the world, it's setting up the world, there's world building, there's character building, there's a lot of things going on. And this movie has that too, but not as much as that. There's just not enough parts. I feel like I'm watching a clock wind up rather than watching Big Ben wind up in 2001. There's just not enough meat on the bone there. The guy likes opera. And he likes that pig. The pig's the best part of the movie.
Shocker. Herzog film with a random animal. But to me, what really makes this film compelling, and it's true, I watched this one in 2 or 3 parts. My schedule's just weird.
Yeah.
But because of... So you have the kernel of what motivates Fitzcarraldo. And it's opera, it's beauty, and it's art. But then the film, to me, is a large exploration of ambition.
Yes.
And so often in film, ambition is sometimes seen as a very critical...
and a nasty thing.
A nasty thing.
Yeah.
And this... It has difficulties with the way he's pursuing the ambition, because it is dangerous what he's doing to get this boat over mountain. People die. But to see this as, it's the phrase of, I feel like I'm going upstream on this. Mm-hmm. It should be changed to I feel like I'm going up a mountain on this, because the reason this film is, by far the longest one we're covering. It's what, just under 3 hours?
I think it's 2.5 hours.
Yeah. And to spend that time, because when you have other characters
158 minutes.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Because, some of the other characters you would see who are doing something ambitious, like they want to be the best baseball player in a movie or whatnot, their process to get their pitch just right is often done in a montage, where, to me, the boring elements of this film kept making it richer, because he did not realize, and Herzog did not realize, how difficult this task was. And because this is actually happening. That they are, in real life, getting this actual steamboat over a mountain. And I believe, actually, the real steamboat is heavier than what they're saying in the film is, to give the mountain. It is, I mean, it's the most autobiographical thing you'll see, because Fitzcarraldo is Herzog. It is to capture this moment, this beauty, this strangeness, this thing that maybe shouldn't even happen, but it's these two men, one fictional and one not, who were so obsessively driven to accomplish it that, we do spoilers on the podcast, when it does go over, I'm so overwhelmed with emotion because, like, they fucking did it. This may have been the stupidest task on earth, but they did it. They actually got the goddamn boat over the mountain.
Using the baseball player as an analogy, you say that, okay, so it's not a film about a guy being, the best baseball player or whatever, the ambition to be the best baseball player. If that film's made, you learn more about that character than that he loves baseball, though, and that doesn't happen here. And that's what I'm missing. I'm missing out on. I felt like I had a stronger connection to Fitzcarraldo. I mean, I can appreciate what he's doing. By and large, there's a primal need humans have for art and culture that make us what we are. That's humanity. But the other things that make us humans, personality, characterization, I just feel like he lacks. And he's not even an archetype. He is something completely different, and that's probably because he's Herzog. So it's weird, because I everything you just said, I agree with, and I was definitely rooting for the boat to get over the mountain. When it did, I was really happy that it did. And I do like the film, and the film is definitely an achievement. It's something I think that everyone should see, just because of how impressive of a film it is. Well, we talked about the boat a lot. One part in particular that I thought it was quite amazing was the wide shots of the trees coming down. These enormous trees. I mean, these huge, beautiful trees. And they go to these long wides of them, like, collapsing in the distance and then falling into the water to build a dam all in one shot. I mean, that's not something you can mess up. You need to get that right on the first try. And it all seems very...
Also, they're making it.
Making it happen, right? So it all feels very real. Which I thought was great. Wide shots of the river with all the canoes approaching, all of it. It's not just the boat going over. Obviously, Herzog, again, is a master of actually crafting a beautiful film. I mean, in a lot of ways, his scenes almost seems like an art exhibition in the way they sort of happen. And I think if you take this movie as that, you almost appreciate it more. Because to me, at the end of the day, the story's just not there.
And I think a lot of what works for me is the moments that actually aren't there, because you're in the moment to moment of so much of it. Everyone, like, it's very unsaid how much he should quit. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of to have these days, to kind of have the lack of success sometimes, to have the boat fall back, which happened in real life. I mean, to have Fitzcarraldo not give up, to me, said a lot about him. The fact that he keeps wearing his white suit. I mean, he keeps getting dirtier and whatnot. But I mean, it always felt like this is what he was made to do, and to walk away now was to give up on. There's nothing else to pursue.
Well, he can't walk back.
Yeah,
he can't go back anyway. I mean, that's
this is where he is.
Yeah. So also they'll get killed if they go back up the river. And another story thread I thought was just kind of odd is there's this constant debate on what the natives are actually thinking. And this happens about 6 times. Oh, they painted their faces today. What does that mean? Oh, they're looking at the water today. What does that mean? Who cares? It just seemed like a weird event. I mean, I was never in suspense over whether or not the tribe was going to kill them or not. They got on the boat with them. they're helping them move the boat over the mountain.
Yeah.
And they kept saying, "Oh, tomorrow they might kill us," and it just is. I just thought that was really odd. I mean, I really thought the movie was longer than it needed to be. I thought the camera held on shots way too long. Mm-hmm. You'd see this beautiful, pristine shot of sort of like the boat go around the river bend, and it is really nice to look at, and it's beautiful. But then Herzog films the bend for another 15, 20 seconds, and you're kind of like, what? Cut.
There were times when that really paid off for me, though. You get the absolute final sequence when...
Well, that's unbelievable.
Yeah,
the final sequence is incredible.
He ultimately does fail. He's not going to get the money for the opera house. He did make it over the mountain. Things went awry. But he's able to do one thing. He's able to have one concert with the composer of his dreams, and they do it on the boat.
So what happened there was... And again, because the story's kind of hard to follow, so I just want to make sure that we're on the same page here. So what happens is he sells the boat back to the original guy that had the boat, and with that money, he purchases the best cigars he can buy, a perfect sitting chair, and because he gets to keep the boat for another couple weeks, and then he pays that whole opera group to perform on the boat in this incredible scene where they go down the river and he's in the back smoking the cigar. And they're singing, this beautiful music or whatever, and it's like opera on the river. And it's like this interesting moment because I don't think his wife ever thought he would succeed.
No.
Yeah, she never thought that, but she was happy for him. They have kind of an interesting relationship, too.
It's a really curious one. And
she gives him all the money for all of this, and she has no return on her investment.
No. Well, and that's what makes... Fitzcarraldo, he's convincing in not a swarmy way. He is just he's a very sincere guy, and especially seeing that coming from Kinski, who played a madman and a literal monster.
And by all accounts was an actual monster in real life.
And he was a horrible, crazy person who made the shoot unbearable.
Yeah.
Reports of one of the locals, offering to murder him. And Herzog said, no, we still need to keep filming the movie.
But maybe after.
Yeah, no, it was in consideration. So I saw Fitzcarraldo again, and just watching it, just to watch all the tedium of those boat sequences, which is most of the movie. I was like, we're not recording for a bit. I rewatched the documentary about this, Burden of Dreams, where you had this filmmaker, Les Blanc, who's there for a lot of it. And unfortunately, the movie was a bit disappointing my second watch because I had also read Herzog's diaries of this 3-year project. And sure enough, Herzog's diaries are the most beautifully crazy written things of all time. And
Austin would routinely send me pictures of excerpts from there.
The book's called Conquest of the Useless, in case you want to know. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. The joke about Terry Gilliam not making his Don Quixote movie is nothing compared to several plane crashes. Yeah. His lead actor getting too sick to be in Peru. Mick Jagger was going to be the second lead of this film. He was all for it and excited about it, but then he had to, do a worldwide concert series.
Yeah.
And Herzog could not imagine anyone else doing this, so they erased the entire character, which would basically be Fitzcarraldo's sidekick. In the documentary, you do get to see footage of Jason Robards and Mick Jagger acting in the movie.
Wow.
That's awesome. Kinski routinely lost his mind, yelled at everyone, had a mental breakdown every day.
And because Kinski was, an actor, obviously. A lot makes you wonder how much was real about him, just in general. Like, did he throw these fits because it was fun for him to do that?
I think it's a bit of both.
Yeah, which makes it even more
every
psychotic.
Day.
Exactly. Like, kind of like the Marlon Brando thing. Like, oh, you're acting like that. You're giving me a really weird interview right now because you're Marlon Brando and you can.
Yeah.
Like, you're not being honest about anything. But Kinski's brilliant in the film. He's a brilliant actor.
When Jason Robards couldn't do it, and the financing was pretty much almost gone from the movie, and he reshoot all they've done so far, which is not, they haven't got to boat stuff yet. They're doing so much in the movie. Herzog almost cast someone else before Kinski. It was going to be himself. In case it couldn't be any more transparent, Herzog debated him just acting in the film himself. Then he realized, no, it had to be Kinski.
Yeah.
There's no. It goes. It's going to make it worse for me. It's going to make it worse for everybody. But it has to be Kinski in this role.
Oh man, it's such a weird because Herzog had to hate him.
There's a whole documentary that he made about My Best Fiend.
Yeah.
And I truly think their relationship is so complex that
it can't be described in words.
No, he literally made a 90-minute documentary about it, and it's still kind of, I think, unclear to himself after decades and decades what he thinks of Kinski.
Oh, man. Well, he was a really talented actor.
And this is so different. He's so calm in this movie as he's doing a crazier task.
Yeah, that was the
Dorado.
thing that I noticed about it probably more than anything else. Is just because, he's nuts in Nosferatu. He's nuts in Aguirre, Wrath of God. Different type of nuts. Aguirre is more subtle and actually a lot more evil, I felt like, than Nosferatu. At least it got a vibe of actually there was something about the film that seemed more soulful about it. I think it's the best Kinski performance I've ever seen. I think Aguirre is one of the better movie characters. He's fascinating to watch. With Fitzcarraldo, he's just like kind of a nice guy that likes opera. There's not much nuance there.
Well, perhaps it's different kind of channeled madness. If all three characters are mad, the first two are mad because of the way they're doing their actions. I mean, essentially, Aguirre, they're on a mission, mission that they were assigned, pretty much. Nosferatu needs to survive. This is what he does to keep being alive. And Fitzcarraldo is doing an action that is the mad thing. Like, he doesn't need to do this, but he's going about doing it in a very kind of calm manner. But the actual action itself is insane in a way that no one, including Herzog, knows. Like, this is
including
the
me.
Image. Yeah,
I don't know why.
I don't know why. I mean, it is the mashed potatoes and Close Encounters, right? I mean, this is all they know is that this has to be done, and the film captures that in such a strange waiting, like it. You feel the weight of that boat. Like,
yes,
this is not a prop boat on a miniature. Which, oh man, L.A. really wanted them to do a miniature, and like Herzog's stuff. Like, I don't think you get what I'm making.
Yeah,
right
you
now.
can't understand that. That's insane. There are also shots of it just going down the river and like crashing into everything. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, I mean, he had.
And there's people on the boat because you can see them. So, like, I mean, they're not, like, hanging out over the side, but they're up there and the captain's, like, you can see people in it. It's weird.
Everyone got sick on this movie. I mean, everyone, like, you're in the middle of the jungle. And, I mean, Herzog would spend his days reading about, like, the Roman Empire. Like, that's all he would be doing.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, he would get sick, read about classic moments in history and different, like, philosophies and all these kind of things. Keep getting sick and just keep making this goddamn film for years. This is a guy who, I mean, he's very old now. I think he's in his 80s, but like he has like 70 films to his name now. But for like several years, he made nothing else except trying to make this film. And there is at least one film of his I like better than this, but there's no other film that perfectly personifies one filmmaker and all they're trying to do and their strange, imperfect. This is why he's a filmmaker.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, but you use the word imperfect there, right? And see, all those beats, I think, were perfect in Aguirre.
Yeah.
So that I guess that's like the difference for me. Fitzcarraldo is a lot more clumsy because it had to be.
Yeah.
Aguirre is a lot more precise. In general, it's like one feels like a tactician, the other is like a brawler.
Right.
Like that's kind of what it comes off to me. And the movie's just more concise. I think that's why I'll go with it. I go with Aguirre over Fitzcarraldo. But I mean, I'm really happy to have seen it because I understand, like, because you hear about it, and I understand what type of achievement the film certainly is, and I know it's meant a lot to a lot of people. But I do think ultimately to put it in the same class as 2001: A Space Odyssey is insane. That's insane to me.
It's such a,
And with all respect to
of course,
the subject matter and the filmmaker and Kinski and just the whole thing. The whole lot.
The image of just a tilted steamboat in dirt.
Yeah.
And especially when they have those, miraculous shots of Fitzcarraldo, like, very far away from it, so you see how small he is and how big this boat is.
Big-ass boat.
It's a big-ass boat, and it's to its side, and almost everyone died on this movie. And it's a film that I think I'm going to just keep revisiting every few years. I keep siding with Fitzcarraldo more, and I don't know why, as I keep getting older.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bit of the joy of the film, and perhaps because this is a film where it's just Herzog bearing his soul, he can't be as concise as when he's going to analyze a different subject. It's just so personable that no one can ever get the exact thesis of their life because they're literally too close to it.
That's a good point. And I think that it will, and it already has. I was going to say, I think it'll endure more than any Herzog film, and at that point, history has proven that to be to be fact.
He won Best Director at the Cannes Film Festival this year, and he did lose the Palme d'Or. There was a tie that year to Missing, which is your favorite guy, Costa Gavras. He made Z.
Oh God. Z is a piece of shit.
Missing is better.
I know I'm the only one that thinks that, but
I brought it from you.
I can't follow a political thriller that I have no context for what's happening. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know anything about the Catholic-Protestant conflict in Ireland other than there was one. So if you're going to get real intricate and make a story about that, I'm going to watch it like we did a play in Chicago, and you're going to make all these references to things. That's not going to play in America like it's going to play in Ireland. I'm sorry. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Missing is easier to follow, but it's no Fitzcarraldo. Jack Lemmon doesn't move any sort of transport.
I don't like Z. I know.
We're not going to cover that.
We could have done. What we could have done is a Let's Take 5 Claudia Carbonell. She pops up in a lot of great movies, oddly. So Claudia Cardinale, who plays Molly, who is Fitzcarraldo's wife. I guess we should say his real name's Fitzgerald, but it's easier for the locals to say it, which I thought was kind of neat. She's the woman in Once Upon a Time in the West.
Oh, that's where she is from.
Yeah, she's a beautiful Italian actress. She was in all kinds of westerns and other things, and she's still alive. She pops up. I think she is. She pops up quite a bit. She's whenever we need a beautiful Italian woman back then, that's usually the actress they sort of fell back on. And I like her. I think I like her charisma in this movie. She's cute alongside Kinski, if I could just for a second remove who he is as a human being. So.
She's next to Fitzcarraldo.
She's next to Fitzcarraldo.
Apparently on set they really did keep their distance, as did everyone with Kinski.
You couldn't get that guy further away from me. Based on literally who he is, makes my skin crawl. But the guy's a great actor. He was. I know I've said that three or four times now, but seriously, his performance in this film and the other films are just absolutely excellent. So,
I think it's time to wrap it up. This is a movie more than anything else we've covered on the podcast. It's like an image and it's a feeling. So I don't know if our words covered it enough. You may hate this film, you may love this film, but you should definitely see this film.
Yeah, it's kind of, I guess, the way I would sort of leave off with it is, out of the 5 movies that we watched for this is probably my 4th favorite. But I almost would recommend to watch this more than any of them, just for the sheer fact of they move a boat over a mountain, and it's a big-ass boat, and it's a mountain.
No one's going to remake this film.
Yeah.
No one, of all films in history, no one will ever remake Fitzcarraldo.
Yeah, just for that reason alone. So, anyway, so that sort of brings us to the end here. If you want to write to us, please email us at letstake5@theartimmortal.com. Also, our Twitter handle is @the_Immortals_pod. So if you want to tweet at us, you can do that there. Don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to catch me, you can catch me on my YouTube channel, Constant Diversion. That's where I review video games. Some people are on the channel right now. We've just picked up a lot of traffic, so I don't know. Maybe it's people out in podcast land. I'm not sure, but it's coming from somewhere. So that's really nice too. So you can leave a comment at theartimmortal.com, and the Immortal that you keep hearing pop up is based on a podcast that Austin runs with a group of people that's also on the network. And the podcast, Austin, is
The Immortals. It is every week 5 of us pretend to be immortal beings where we are cursed to review all of the 1001 movies, albums, songs, food, children's books, and TV shows that you must consume before you die. Yes, last week I said we reviewed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but thanks to audio trouble, this week we reviewed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which was our 50th episode. It was our 1-year anniversary, and it was really fun to do. And for a review show, we have a surprising amount of mythology, and this was our biggest twist in the plot. Because review shows should have plots. What are we doing? But check that episode out, and
that wraps it up. Thanks for listening to us, everybody, and hope you enjoy the rest of the canon.
We'll catch you next week with Grizzly Man. I'm Austin Luger.
I'm Eric Martindale.
Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Herzog is stranded in the jungle with a 300-ton steamship that won't move, and time is running out. He needs money to move the ship, but no one will invest unless the ship moves first. Behind his back, some of the actors are talking about getting out while the getting is good. Only a few of the cast, crew, and Indians believe in his dream anymore. Even Herzog is beginning to wonder.
Of course we are challenging nature itself, and it hits back. It just hits back, that's all, and that's grandiose about it, and we have to accept that it is much stronger than we are. Kinski always says it's full of erotic elements. I don't see it so much erotic, I see it more full of obscenity. It's just, and nature here is vile and base. I wouldn't see anything erotical here. I would see fornication and asphyxiation and choking and fighting for survival and growing and just rotting away. Of course there's a lot of misery, but it is the same misery that is all around us. The trees here are in misery, and the birds are in misery. I don't think they sing, they just screech in pain.